got it? There I go. Okay, we're going to look at some pictures now. If you want to see those again, they'll be showing them at the end. Good morning and welcome to our 60th anniversary of the United Church Women. We'll now have the lighting of the Christ candle. When Mary gets a lighter to work. We light this Christ candle and give thanks for God's shower of blessings in our lives and give thanks for every member in our group. And the territorial, no, wait a minute. We acknowledge we live on the traditional territory of the Mississauga people of the Anishinaabe Nation. We acknowledge their stewardship of the land throughout the ages. And we'll sing 315 verse 1 for Holy, Holy, Holy. We'll read responsively the call to worship. We gather today to celebrate, to remember, to offer gratitude for 60 years of Christian witness, study, fellowship, and service. We give thanks for the leadership inside and outside the walls of the church and at all levels of the United Church Women. We give thanks for the hospitality, pastoral care, and outreach ministries provided through receptions and events of all kinds. We give thanks for the willingness to fill in when needed, to lead a church service, to organize an event, and to provide money for an item not on any budget line. We give thanks for attended meetings, local, provincial, regional, and national, and bringing back ideas, new study books, and new hymn suggestions. We give thanks for supporting camping ministries, vacation Bible schools, Sunday school, World Day of Prayer, mission and service, food banks, and much more. We give thanks for decorating at Christmas, Easter, Thanksgiving, or finding someone to take on the task. We give thanks for pushing for change when the carpet got worn, the curtains shabby, and the room needed a cleaning and a painting. We give thanks for their many and varied ministries over 60 years. We give thanks for their gifts and talents and sharing their treasures. Our opening hymn is 660, How Firm a Foundation, and it was sung at the inaugural service of the UCW in 1962.
How firm a foundation, you servants of
say the gathering prayer in unison? We gather this day in gratitude and thanksgiving for the thousands of women across Canada who gave over 60 years of Christian witness, study, fellowship, and service to the churches, their pastoral charges, communities of faith, their presbyterial regions, and to the national UCW. We give thanks to the families who supported them in their endeavors while eyeing the goodies on the counter that were going to the church for their energy, vision, outreach, and pastoral care. We give thanks and gratitude. Amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Good morning. Psalm 95 from Voices United 8:14, Part 1, the refrain. O come, let us sing to God. Let us come into God's presence with thanksgiving. For you are a great God. In your hands are the depths of the earth. The sea is yours, for you made it. You are indeed our God. The gospel reading is Luke 10:38 to 41, at the home of Martha and Mary. As Jesus and his disciples were on their way, they came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him. She had a sister called Mary, who sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he said. But Martha was distracted by all the preparation that had to be made. She came to him and said, "Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do all the work by myself? Tell her to help me." "Martha, Martha," the Lord answered, "you are worried and upset about many things." The New Testament scripture, 1 Corinthians 12 to 26, the unity and diversity of the body. Just as the body, though one, has many parts, but all its many parts form one body, so it is with Christ. For we were all baptized by one Spirit, so as to form one body, whether Jew or Gentile, slave or free, we were all given the one Spirit to drink. Even so, the body is not made up of one part, but many. Now, if the foot should say, "Because I am not a hand, I do not belong to the body," it would not for that reason stop being part of the body. And if an ear should say, "Because I'm not an eye, I do not belong to the body," it would not for that reason stop being part of the body. If the whole body were an eye, where would the sense of hearing be? If the whole body were an ear, where would the sense of smell be? But in fact, God has placed the parts of the body, every one of them, just as he wanted them to be. If they were all one part, where would the body be? As it is, there are many parts, but one body. The eye cannot say to the hand, "I don't need you," and the head cannot say to the foot, "I don't need you." On the contrary, these parts of the body that seem to be weaker and indispensable are the parts that we think are less honorable, we treat with special honor. And the parts that are unpresentable are treated with special modesty, while our presentable parts need no special treatment. But God has put the body together, giving great honor to the parts that lack it. So there should be no division in the body, but that its parts should have equal concern for each other. If one part suffers, every part suffers with it. If one part is honored, every part rejoices with it.
We'll now sing hymn number 595, "We Are Pilgrims." Our guest speaker this morning is Roberta Plunkett. She's married to Stephen, and they have 3 sons and 4 grandchildren. She loves gardening and traveling, and she didn't say she loves camping, but I know she goes camping a lot. Roberta has been president of the Lindsay Presbyterial, president of the Bay of Quinte Conference, UCW, also was a treasurer and a secretary in those units. And she's been Bethel UCW president 3 times, and she's retired from the Royal Bank. Welcome, Roberta.
Thanks for having me. I am so humbled by your pictures. I'm thinking, oh, what a nerve I have coming to talk to you about UCW. So anyways, we'll begin with the UCW purpose: to unite women of the community of faith for the total mission of the church and provide a means through which we may express our loyalty and devotion to Jesus Christ in Christian witness, study, fellowship, and service. Welcome everyone to this special celebration of UCW. Trinity holds a special place in my heart. I've been to so many events here because of UCW that I feel very much at home. Some of the most influencing women of UCW I have met through this church. Lillian, of course, and Colleen Gilpin, who I spoke to the other day, Joyce Jones, Mary Justice, Amelia Torrey, Enid Kimball, Mary Mackenzie through Providence, and Mary Watson, and there's probably others that, as with age, my memory isn't probably what it could be. As you know, the very first Bay of Quinte Conference UCW committee that I was on was planning the midweek event. And without Joyce Jones on it, I don't know what would have happened. The topic at that time was AIDS. Doesn't that seem a long time ago? We couldn't have planned it without us, without her. I am nervous. I'm so glad that Mary sort of set the precedent with not being able to light the candles, so I feel a little bit better, and I know I'm among friends. So the United Church of Canada was formed. When the United Church of Canada was formed in June 1925, the 2 major women's organizations were the WMA and the WMS, Women's Missionary Society. The other group was also, some congregations also had Ladies' Aid. And from the book, Voices of United Church Women, it tells us the Women's Missionary Society had a budget of $1.5 million a year, a staff of 165 people at work in 80 countries, 97 active missionaries around the world as nurses, doctors, teachers, and the like. They also helped to set up a network of study groups for others to learn about mission work. Now, isn't that impressive? In 1962, that's what women were doing. From the book about UCW women, Ordinary Heroes, we learned that in 1960, the United Church approved the formation of a new organization for women to share in a much more meaningful way in the work of the church. This meant that the Women's Association and the Women's Missionary Society would be united under one name. United Church Women was created on January 1st, 1962, by uniting the WA and the WMS under one name. A lot has changed in 60 years. The world has changed. The roles of women have changed. The United Church has changed. We need the action and prayerfulness of each of our members to change as well. As you know, every UCW has its own way of being UCW. Usually includes a devotion or short worship and a program which may or may not host a speaker, and of course fellowship, which always includes food. And we have lots of support for our groups in the form of Presbyterials. Ours is Kawartha Highlands. I was the president, I think, when it was still Lindsay Presbyterial. I was also the secretary of that as well. We have our regions. Bay of Quinte ECOR UCW. I was the president of Bay of Quinte UCW when it was just that. I was also the treasurer of that. And also, when you're the president of Bay of Quinte Conference, UCW, you also go to the national UCW meetings, which is an amazing thing to go to. Often, these get overlooked by locals, but they are a rich resource that spiritually rejuvenate, help connect us to other women outside our areas, educate, to commiserate with our problems, to help with advice, for friendship, and for support. It is a group of like-minded women with God as our center. United Church women have led the way in service to their church at every level. As I can tell by everybody here, you don't need me to tell you what you do. I saw your list of calendars. It was absolutely amazing what is going on in this church. So we provide hospitality, informal pastoral care, outreach, and of course, UCW prepared, led, and services. In the bigger scheme of things, United Church women have been involved with National United Church Women's projects, such as, I don't know if you remember, Beads of Hope, Sisters of the Spirit, the Child Wellbeing Poverty Initiative. The 50th anniversary of UCW was Morogoro Training Center in Tanzania, with the funds used to teach traditional birth attendants and supply the tools needed to do important work, saving the lives of babies and mothers. $250,000 was raised by UCWs across Canada for this project. The 60th anniversary project was Women for Change Zambia, in which $103,000 was raised, and considering we were shut down by COVID for 2 years, that was amazing. And I'll tell you more about that later. This is all over and above the support UCW provides for M&S, each church, local charity, other initiatives that they're asked to help with. Well done, girls. You make me proud. Be it providing the items, the food, the time, the knowledge, and the skills, it's all important work. And UCW has certainly changed over the years. My first memories of UCW were when my mother, Susan Lash, some may remember her, would call me the second Monday of every month to say she was picking me up in 15 minutes to take me to UCW. I don't have daughters, and it did take me a long time to realize the value of this, but because there were some meetings that, you know what, I did despair because it took almost 6 months to decide to get a carpet in the kitchen and 6 months to figure out the color. So some of these meetings did go on a bit long, but I realized later the value, the relationships that were formed in these discussions. And I came to know the women of my church so well, who was having problems, what was happening with the old school, who was having an operation, what a diagnosis was, a job loss, a promotion, things I never would have been aware of if I hadn't been there doing these menial tasks. The drawback, of course, was the request for food. I have never, ever, and still to this day, am not a good cook or baker. I know that seems odd to somebody who's done so many things at UCW, but it's the truth. My boys still think that recipes should not be suggestions, that they're the actual instructions you should follow. But what do they know? And boy, did I practice, though. So I did get better, although at Thanksgiving, my 4-year-old grandson Avery did tell his grandpa he really loved carrots, just not burnt ones. I can make almost everything now. I still burn things. I blame my stove, of course. But I still don't like it. Sometimes I agonize for days what to make for a potluck. I know, crazy, eh? I can do other things, but food is just not one of them. And if you've ever come to a meeting and they ask for a bag lunch, well, just don't do it. Just don't have a bag lunch when I'm coming. And who would have thought that washing dishes would be such a great activity to know people over and above, hi, how are you? Where else would I have heard the Burleys had been members of Bethel before it was even a building, or that Hank Lowe's family helped build it, or that a new baby was expected in a family, or Nora's cousin's mother-in-law was traveling to China. Like all those things that you just don't, until you actually spend that time, you just don't know. Doing these menial tasks can be so much fun. With laughter and teasing, the church begins to feel like a second home. and the calamities that become the greatest stories later on. Oh, you've had it happen. Tire coffee pot doesn't perk. What are you gonna do? The punch bowl gets knocked over. Someone forgets to bring milk. Do we let them forget it? Are we angry? We're just so happy it wasn't us. And there are things beyond our control that happen at these things, like the hydro going out during your dinner, or the basement filling with soap, the basement of the church filling with smoke for a pancake breakfast because you haven't ever used the grill for that ever. Things do work out though, and you work them out together, so it is fun times indeed. My mom was involved in UCW at the Presbyterial level, but it was my good friend, who I miss dearly, Pat Burley, who got me hooked on the wider levels of UCW. On the 25th anniversary of UCW, okay, you can do the math, 25th anniversary, this is the 60th, she asked me to go to Camp Quimilak UCW weekend. Well, it was the best time ever. Every local did a skit, or a surprise, or a song, or told a story. Wow, these women were something. They were smart, they were funny, they had a spiritual comfort that so impressed me, I wanted to be part of this. I remember my first meeting as president of Lindsay Presbyterial. I was terrified. I didn't know the rules of Parliament, really hadn't paid any attention to that before. But a certain lady, whom I will call Elaine Cal, had to call me on a couple of points of order. Very nicely, of course, and now we are the best of friends. I have never, ever come back from a UCW meeting, a local event, Presbyterial meeting, rally, midweek, annual meeting, without being renewed, having my spiritual being uplifted, better prepared and determined to do God's work. It's a gift we should take advantage of. The women at these events prove that it is worth it. There is much more to be done. We aren't just any group of women, we are Christian women. UCW has also been a great educator for me. It has been where I've learned about many issues in our community, our region, our country, and the world. The initiatives have meant that I know what is happening at a much deeper level than a 15-sentence newspaper clipping. We can't fix everything, but knowing about it makes our choices meaningful. And also when I was at National UCW, somehow I got on a national committee for racial justice, gender justice. I mean, it just took me places I had never even thought of going. Lillian also asked me to tell you a little bit about the 60th anniversary event that happened in Sydney, Nova Scotia. It was called Continuing in Hope. I drove with Margaret Curtis, some of you will know her sister Lois Brown, and Nora Darling. And as we were planning the trip and the emails were going back and forth, Margaret Curtis said, okay, she had a box of wine, what was I bringing? Well, I was bringing my kettle and my tea bags. How much fun was I going to be compared to her? And we are quite lightweights, Nora and I, when it comes to keeping up with Lois and Margaret in the wine department. Also, we drove in a car, and when the only thing we did, well, we had a lot of fun actually on the way out and the way back. Sometimes that's as much fun as the event, getting to know people. So anyway, we decided we had to rename Riviere de Loup into Riviere de Loup, de Loup, de Loup. We drove round and round that trying to get out. The event took place at Member 2, which is a reserve just outside of Sydney, where Chief Terrence Paul welcomed us. It's a very progressive, the conference, the hotel, it was magnificent. They had a little museum there. They were so welcoming, made us little bookmarks, and we saw dancing and drumming and singing. They were such great hosts. Ruth Kennedy, she was from Prince Edward Island then. She'd moved in the middle of planning. She was our hostess. Reverend Alice Finnemore was author of our theme song, Into Your Hands. And she did worship, and she told us stories every morning. And the one that really sticks in my mind is one that was called Hope is a Little Girl Named Harper. And it was a story about a family that started coming to her small church and how that kind of changed her church around. We also had Reverend Catherine Stewart, who did spiritual renewal through movement and song, which was really interesting. It's always great to see different ways that people are celebrating Christ. There was also a choir that sang, that was the women of the event. There were 200 of us there, plus 20 more with guests. And then she led a choir, and they sang in, one of our hymns in Gaelic. There were also speakers. Reverend J.D. Kennedy had written a book, How to Comfort a Dying Friend. Sally Armstrong, she's an officer of the Order of Canada, human rights activist, award-winning author. She's covered stories about women and girls in the most dangerous zones of conflict: Bosnia, Somalia, Rwanda, Afghanistan, South Sudan, Iraq. She was an amazing speaker that just made you realize what needs to be done and how women need to help women. We also had entertainment, which is always a fun part. A comedian from Prince Edward Island, Patrick Ledwell, who was just hilarious, telling us about what the traffic signs in Prince Edward Island are. And he showed a stop sign, and he says, that means slow down. So, and also the Men of the Deeps performed for us, which, as you probably have heard them before, it was an amazing evening. And then we had, of course, a dance with fiddlers and friends. So the only thing I know is that fiddle tunes last a long time, and you have to be in really great shape to dance till the end of it. But it was also a great way to meet friends. So, and then we always get a ton of swag. I brought my bag. We got little communion cups that were engraved with UCW 60th anniversary that were from churches that had closed and amalgamated. They donated them to us. There were also the 2 reps from Women for Change Zambia, where we heard a lot more about what is actually going on and what their issues are. And also the speaker at the banquet was the General Secretary, Michael Blair. But let's talk about your UCW. Trinity, it's a special place. Much has been accomplished here, and you're still going on. I hear you need to replace Lillian, though, so I want you to work on that. Not replace her, take over her job and let her just be more casual. But I've learned so much from being here. I've had so much fun. Remember when Kawartha Highlands had their AGM here and they had laughing yoga? Do you remember that? Ha, ha, he, very good. Ha, ha, he, very good. Oh, it was a scream. And then the other time we had the Trash and Fashion show here. What a sight that was. Dresses made from recycled water bottles, garbage bags, coffee pods, and gift bags. And I can't forget the last Kawartha Highlands AGM you hosted here. It was 3 days, I think, before COVID shut down. The speaker from Women for Change Zambia canceled a week before, sent us a video, and remember we couldn't get the sound and the picture synced, and so we probably saw the first 5 minutes 10 different times without kind of getting what's going on, but your lovely tech team straightened it out and got it working properly. And also, I would be very remiss not to mention the wonderful food and fellowship that is part of every UCW here. I've been to all sorts of events here, and each time your UCW has been welcoming and inclusive. I've been strengthened in my faith by my time with you. And I'm going to close with the vision statement of UCW. As women of faith, we believe in nurturing Christian spirituality by reaching out through commitment and devotion to all God's people in the promotion of truth, justice, peace, caring, and respect for all throughout the earth, God's world. We believe in honoring God the Creator and loving others through generous giving and joyful living. And we believe in affirming and strengthening ourselves both individually and together through creative study, prayer, and action. Thank you, Lillian, for asking me to come and speak about something I love so much, and thank you for listening to me.
My doctor says I should be using my cane. We'll now sing Color, what is it? color outside the lines, with something about color outside the lines. We'll find the notes. My love.
My love colors outside the lines, exploring paths that few could ever find, and takes me into places where I've never been before, and opens doors to worlds outside the lines. My Lord colors outside the lines, turns words to blessings, water into wine, and takes me into places where I've never been before, and opens doors to worlds outside the lines. We'll never walk on water if we're not prepared to drown. Body and soul need a soaking from time to time. And we'll never move the gravestones if we're not prepared to die and realize there are worlds outside the lines. My soul wants the color outside the lines. Turn back the curtains, sun, come in and shine. I want to walk beyond the boundaries where I've never been before. Throw open doors to worlds outside the lines. We'll never walk on water if we're not prepared to drown. Body and soul need a soaking from time to time. And we'll never move the gravestones if we're not prepared to die and realize there are worlds outside the lines. My soul wants to color outside the lines. Tear back the curtain, sun, come in and shine. I want to walk beyond the boundaries where I've never been before. Throw open doors to worlds outside the lines.
Okay. UCW. I started going to UCW in my 20s, about 1966, and I only got married in 1964 and joined his church. So I quickly became involved in dinners and funeral luncheons, was president 3 times at Moncton United Church, which is in Ontario near Stratford. We moved to Bob Cajun in 95, and I became president here in 1999 and 2000. And this is my 3rd time here. Trinity UCW have faithfully supported the M&S and the Trinity United Church. We have done renovations in the Friendship Room as well as in the kitchen. We host the World Day of Prayer every 6 years. We support a place called Home, Women's Resources, Camp Quimalac, and many others. We have done spring teas, turkey suppers, funeral receptions, fish fries, chili cook-off, thanks to Mary Watson. But we need help. If we are to continue funeral receptions, we need help. I have put a questionnaire into the, what is it called, Sue? The Carillon. Joyce Jones has been the coordinator for years, and she has a book with all the details in how to do it. We thank her. Our main fundraiser now are the meat pies and the chili sauce, and a big thank you to all of Macomb for that. And now we are going to do, I'll read you the list of the presidents of Trinity United Church. In 1962, it was Ruby Smith. 1963 and 64, Laura Wilkins. 1965 and 66, Dorothy Bick, which I think is John Bick's mother. 67 and 68, Sadie Peters. 69, 70, Alice Prescott. 71, 72, Susie Lee. 73, 74, and 75, Joyce Jones. 76 and 77, Sandra Shell. 78 and 79, Joanna Van Oudenaren. 1980, 81, Ruth Thompson. 98 and 1983, Nancy Hill. 1984 and 1985, Olive Nye. 1986 and 1987, Joyce Junkin, and that's who got me involved here. You couldn't say no to Joyce. 1988, 1989, and 1990, Marjorie Thompson. 91, I guess they had trouble getting a president that year. They had 4 of them. Olive Nye, Marion Bennett, Wendy Berrio, and Sandra Shell. 92 and 93, Enid Kimball. 94 and 95, Mary Justice. 96 and 97, Ruth Belbeck. 98, Mary Justice again. 99, 2000, Lillian Partridge. 2001 to 2003, Enid Kimball again. 2004 to 2007, Colleen Gilpin. 2008 to 2011, Amelia Torrey. 2012 to 2016, Lillian again. 2016 to 2020, Colleen Gilpin. And 2021 to now, Lillian again. Anyway, where am I at? At this time, I wanted to tell you a little bit more. The UCW at one time here had 4 groups: the Joy Group, Faith, Hope, and Love, Friendship, and Harmony. Harmony, I'm part of. Joyce Jones was also president of Lindsay Presbyterial in 88 and 89. Joyce Junkin was treasurer of the Presbyterial for 5 years. And Mary Watson had the youth portfolio. And Colleen Gilpin was also president of Lindsay Presbyterial. And Amelia Torrey was secretary. Okay, now it's my honor to present. Annika Beck, would you come up here, please? Well, you can stand down there. But Annika has been our treasurer for 30 years, since 1992, so I'd like to present her with a little gift. Mary Justice is coming with it. Oh, and it's also her birthday, November 1st. Thank you, Annika. Thank you, Mary. And Marion wants to say a little bit about Providence, I think. She did. On the questionnaire I put in the newsletter, men can fill it out too. Do you think you can make sandwiches or squares? Help us out? Thank you.
I'm sure you can hear me. I noticed in all that reading of all those wonderful presidents, they only had 2 or 3 years as president. I hate to say how many years I've been president of Providence, but I'm still there, and they haven't kicked me out, so maybe we're surviving. Let's put it that way. When Lillian asked me to say something about Providence, I thought, oh, well, that's not too hard. I'll go to some of the older ladies and get some of the stories. Reality check. There's 1 or 2 left, but anyway, I'm still here. So And Providence is a little country church between here and Fenland, if anybody's not sure what I'm talking about. And I'm going to go back. I found some papers that we had done with our archivist, Gail Johnson, and a couple of stories that I enjoyed. I hope you do too. Providence Church opened in 1890, and there were many dedicated women helping at Providence at that time. It's recorded that Mrs. Kelly baked a 3-tier jelly cake and served it to the congregation. Now, they opened in November. The first church service, the church wasn't built. They held it in a grove of trees across from where Providence is now in November, and they had, a real long church service. So I hope they wore lots of clothes. Anyway, back to what I've got written. There were 2 parts to the women's work then. There was the fundraising for the church, and there was also the missionary work, so WA and WMS. The ladies met in their homes, and one of the big fundraising projects at that time was making quilts, and it continued for many, many years. When they sold them, they might get from $2 to $5. I know. One husband commented that they were getting 1 cent an hour at making those quilts. Now, during the time, of course, a lot of farm families, so they held basket socials and crokinole parties. And that was part of the fun, part of the social getting together. And it provided funds for the church. The women raised enough money to buy an organ in the early 1960s, just about when UCW came into existence. Now, during the good weather, they held garden parties at the church. Now, I'll have to explain. Now, you couldn't do it, but there was another building beside the church, and it was a double. It was two-tier, and downstairs is where they tied up the horses when they came to church. Upstairs, there was a complete floor, and that's where they served lunches. The women had to carry everything up there, including the water. So we know how hard they worked. But now these garden parties, it was registered that they were a grand affair. They put sawdust down on the floors, they put in the tables, and I'm sure you dressed up to go to them too. Anyway, one of the stories that is often told, Jack Staples brought his wife Harriet with all their supplies to take in for the garden party, and he had a car, got out, and whatever he did, I don't understand, excuse me, but it took off and went into the building, knocking over all the tables that were set up. Oh, it's remembered today, but they got everything back, got it into shape, they went ahead, they had the garden party, and it was a grand affair. In 1962, the WA and M&S became UCW. And during this time, I was able to start coming to some of the meetings. I could attend in the summertime, and when I was home with our family. We met in homes, and again, they were still making quilts at that time, and carried on with a lot of fundraising, and they had many interesting speakers as well. And so today, we do much the same. Our little Providence UCW, I keep saying, is small but mighty. We used to meet always in the ladies' homes, but that just wasn't, everybody wasn't able to do that. So now we are meeting here at Trinity in the Friendship Room on the 4th Thursday of the month. And we'll carry on with our meetings and fundraising. We have, we're small and mighty, we're dedicated women that are going to serve God and serve our community. So that's a little bit about Providence.
ready again. Okay, hymn number 171, Christ has no body now but yours.
Christ has no body now but yours, no hands but yours. Here on this earth, yours is the work to serve with the joy of compassion. No hands but yours to heal the wounded world. No hands but yours to soothe all its suffering. No touch but yours to find the broken home of the people of God. Christ has no body now but yours, no hands but yours. Here on this earth, yours is the work to serve with the joy of compassion. No eyes but yours to see as Christ would see, to find the lost, to gaze with compassion. No eyes but yours to glimpse the holy joy of the city of God. Christ has no body now but yours, no hands but yours. Here on this earth, yours is the work to serve with the joy of compassion. No feet but yours to journey with the poor, to walk this world with mercy and justice. Yours are the steps to build a lasting peace for the children of God. Christ has no body now but yours, no hands but yours. Here on this earth, yours is the work to serve with the joy of compassion. Through every gift, give back to those in need. To Christ as last, so now He is blessing. With every gift, allow us to be the people of God. Christ has no body now but yours, no hands but yours. Here on this earth, yours is the work to serve with the joy of compassion.
Okay, so I was going to talk to you about Women for Change Zambia, but in the interest of time, I'll let you know that it's in the A Minute for Mission books, and that the UCW initiative is ending this December, but we would like you to consider it if you give an, what's the book called? Gifts for Mission, if you still continue to give that way, because it's a super worthwhile cause. There's a YouTube video that you can watch, and the two people that are actually from there speak about it, and it will be really worth your while. But now, as that time is getting on, I'll let you do that on your own.
We come with gifts of the mind and the spirit. We come with tangible gifts that can be put to work in our communities of faith and with a mission and service. These gifts will enable our communities of faith to live to their mission, and our mission and service gifts go to the ministries across Canada and around the world, providing hope to many. Let us now receive these gifts. Offertory prayer in unison. We give thanks for these offering gifts. We have set these gifts free and around the world. Doug reminded me I forgot the announcements, and I have them here. Okay, take note in your thing that Bud has cash cards he wants to sell on, what's the date, Bud? I don't have the... I don't have the full thing. November 20th. So have your cash card stuff into Bud by November the 20th. Bazaar is November 19th in Trinity Hall, and this year there's no luncheon. And Sue gave me one about the drummers, but she was going so fast I didn't get it written down. So Bob wants to meet with the drummers, so you'll have to find out when that is. And please be prepared to stay for a short meeting immediately after church next Sunday, October 23rd. Doug Pepper will provide a financial update for everyone. And please note in